What if Billy the Kid was never just an outlaw? What if the story we've been told for more than a century, the story of the cocky young gunslinger, the thief, the killer who became a legend in the blink of an eye, was only the surface of something far stranger? Billy the Kid Season 3 doesn't just continue the saga of Henry McCarty, William Bonney, or whatever name he chose in the moment. It reconfigures his entire myth. And the more you watch, the more you realize this show isn't retelling Western history at all. It's rewriting it, reshaping Billy into a cipher. Something bigger than the man, bigger than the outlaw, bigger even than the legend. Season 3 makes Billy into a myth, but not the one we thought we knew. This is the Billy the Kid who isn't just an outlaw in history. He's the archetype the frontier invented to explain itself. And for the first time, the mask is coming off. Go back to the first 2 seasons and you'll see it. The show has always been fascinated by transformation. Season 1 gave us Billy the Orphan, the Irish immigrant boy scarred by poverty and prejudice, forced into crime by desperation, shaped by injustice. Season 2 pushed that into the Range Wars, painting him as something more than a petty thief, someone who could stand against corrupt power, who could hold loyalty like a weapon, and who could lead men. But now in Season 3, the show isn't just tracing his path to fame. It's breaking the walls between history and myth, peeling away the outlaw veneer to expose the cipher underneath. Because Billy isn't just reacting to the world anymore, he's bending it. When he moves, towns shift around him. When he chooses, men redefine themselves. When he acts, history itself seems to twist. This isn't coincidence, it's narrative design. The showrunners are turning Billy into something Western mythology has always needed. The outlaw as prophecy, the figure who exists not to win, but to reveal the frontier's true face. In the way he rides, fights, and survives, Billy becomes less a man and more a question. What does the West do to the people who live in it? And what stories must it invent to explain their survival? Season 3 sharpens that question through the way it reframes Billy's relationships. Look at how every character around him stops being a simple rival or ally and starts becoming a reflection of a larger theme. The lawmen who chase him don't feel like sheriffs anymore. They feel like symbols of civilization itself, fragile, eager, and desperate to claim dominance over a land they can't tame. The friends who fight beside him aren't just comrades. They're archetypes. The loyal sidekick, the betrayer, and the wide-eyed youth who sees in Billy not a criminal, but a mirror of freedom. And Billy himself, he's no longer playing the outlaw. He's performing the role the frontier demands, the necessary legend, the myth that explains why law never quite fits the West. And here's the curious thing that makes Season 3 so different. The show doesn't hide it anymore. It leans into the idea that Billy's life is a story being written in real time, shaped less by facts than by the tales people tell about him. Every gunfight, every escape, every betrayal feels staged, not just for survival but for memory. Billy the Kid knows he's being watched. He knows his legend is outpacing him. And in Season 3, he almost seems to weaponize it. He becomes the cipher through which people define themselves. To his enemies, he's a threat that justifies their violence. To his followers, he's the proof that outlaws can be free. To the audience, he's both saint and sinner, outlaw and redeemer, a ghost even while alive. That's why the series feels like it's slipping into a different register. It's no longer playing as a straightforward period piece about an infamous outlaw. It's unraveling like a coded Western myth, where every historical beat hides a second meaning. Billy doesn't just shoot to kill. He shoots to remind us that the frontier was never lawful to begin with. He doesn't just run from sheriffs. He runs from the idea that civilization can ever truly pin down freedom. He doesn't just survive. He transforms survival into spectacle, into a story that echoes far beyond the truth. That's the cipher. Billy isn't just living a life. He's creating a myth system we're still decoding more than a century later. And Season 3 doubles down by rewriting his fate in ways fans never expected. Everyone knows how Billy's story is supposed to end. A bullet, a betrayal, a young man cut down before his time. But the show lingers on that inevitability like a shadow, almost taunting us with it. Every frame whispers, you think you know, but you don't. Because what if Billy's death was never the point? What if the point was the way his myth consumed the West long before his body hit the ground? The show flirts with this relentlessly. Instead of racing toward his final shootout, it revels in the tension of knowing his legend is outgrowing him. It makes you ask, is Billy writing his story, or is the story writing him? That's why Season 3 feels almost supernatural at times, though nothing overt ever happens. The mood, the stares, the silences, they all hint that Billy is caught in something larger than himself. When people talk about him, they don't describe a man. They describe a figure, a shadow, a storm that passes through, leaving lives changed. It's the same way outlaws in classic westerns became more than men. They became moral puzzles, archetype civilization invented to explain its own contradictions. Billy the Kid has crossed into that territory now, and the brilliance of Season 3 is that it lets us watch that transformation unfold in real time. But here's where the theory gets even stranger. What if Billy isn't just a character being mythologized? What if he's the cipher for the West itself? Think about it. The frontier was never truly about law or order. It was about survival, chaos, and the stories people told to make sense of that chaos. Billy embodies that perfectly. He's the immigrant orphan who reinvented himself, the outlaw who never quite fit the labels given to him, the criminal who became a folk hero. His contradictions are the West's contradictions. And in Season 3, those contradictions finally crystallize. Billy becomes less a man on screen and more a lens, a code through which we can read the frontier's endless paradoxes. That's why the series can't just be dismissed as historical fiction. It's not trying to recreate the past, it's trying to reveal the myth engine that created the West as we imagine it. And Billy is the perfect tool for that, because no outlaw was more mutable, more adaptable, or more capable of being whatever people needed him to be. A villain to some, a hero to others, a ghost to history. In Season 3, the show finally stops pretending it's giving us the real Billy. Instead, it gives us the cipher Billy, the Billy who is every story at once, and none of them fully true. And that's what makes it so curious. So much stranger than anyone expected. Fans came in thinking they'd get a gritty retelling of a famous outlaw. What they're actually getting is a meditation on myth itself, a demonstration of how legends are built in the moment, how history is written not in ink but in whispers, and how the West was never tamed but only narrated into existence. Billy the Kid Season 3 isn't just about Billy, it's about the act of storytelling itself. It's about the way a man becomes a cipher when the world needs his myth more than his truth. And if you look closer, you'll see the show leaving breadcrumbs everywhere. The way characters repeat stories about Billy with slight changes, as if they're already becoming folklore. The way Billy himself leans into performance, knowing that survival sometimes depends more on reputation than bullets. The way the camera frames him in moments of silence, not as a man, but as a figure etched against the landscape, as if he's already a ghost haunting his own life. Season 3 doesn't just tell us Billy is legendary, it shows us the moment a man becomes less flesh and more symbol. That's why this season feels so unprecedented. It isn't building toward a shootout, it's building toward revelation. The revelation that Billy the Kid was never just one man, never just one story, never just one outlaw. He was the cipher for the West itself, the figure that explained what America could never admit, that freedom and lawlessness were twins, that survival and sin walked hand in hand, and that the legends we tell about outlaws are really about ourselves. And in Season 3, that truth rises to the surface, impossible to ignore.